He only noticed her when another man made her laugh. The Mafia boss, who never looked at his secretary, not once in a year, stopped in the middle of the corridor, eyes cold, because she smiled at someone else. And in that second, everyone in that office knew. She had just become his problem. The morning sun hit the glass of Vitale Holdings like gold on steel. Inside, everything gleamed. The polished floors, the black marble reception, the sharp rhythm of heels echoing down the corridor. And yet, amid all that shine, there was a girl who went unnoticed. Emily Walker, 24, sat behind her small desk on the 21st floor. The floor no one lingered on unless they were brave or foolish enough to deal with the man who owned it. She kept her hair tied back neatly, her clothes simple but clean. Her job wasn't glamorous. She handled calls, schedules, coffee orders, and the kind of silence that came when Lorenzo Vitale walked through the hallway. Everyone else looked busy when he appeared. She just looked down. He was impossible not to notice. Tall, impeccably dressed, his Italian accent softened by New York but never erased. People said he smiled once every leap year, and that when he did, it meant someone else's life was about to change. Emily had worked for him for a year. He'd passed her desk hundreds of times. Not once had he really seen her, but she had seen him every day. And she was in love with a man who didn't know her name. That Monday started like any other. Emily arrived early, straightened the stack of folders for the morning meeting, and typed up minutes that no one would read but everyone would need. She'd heard that Mr. Vitale had just come back from a week in Miami. Business, which in his world meant things better left unsaid. At 8:42 a.m., the elevator doors opened with a chime. Two men in dark suits stepped out first, scanning the corridor. Then came him, Lorenzo Vitale. The air changed. People stopped talking. He moved like time itself had to make space for him. Calm, controlled, dangerous in ways that didn't need words. His watch gleamed. His eyes didn't linger. He didn't need to speak to command silence. Emily stood as he approached, her heart racing even though she'd done this 100 times. "Good morning, Mr. Vitale," she said softly. He nodded, eyes still on his phone, walking past her without a glance. It stung, just like it always did, but she smiled anyway, pretending it didn't matter. Minutes later, another voice broke the silence. "Hey, morning, Em." Ethan Parker leaned over her desk, tall, sandy-haired, with a grin that could light up a windowless room. He worked in the company's security division, second floor, but lately he'd found excuses to check systems up here. "You beat me here again," he said. Emily smiled, grateful for the normalcy. "I live 10 minutes away." "You? You probably rolled out of bed 5 minutes ago." "Guilty," he laughed. "But I brought bribes." He held up a coffee. "1 cream, 2 sugars, right?" She blinked, surprised. "You remembered?" "I pay attention," he said, grinning. "Unlike some people around here." Emily laughed, a small, real laugh that made her eyes soften. "Thanks, Ethan." He handed her the cup, teasing, "You know they should pay you double for putting up with that guy's moods." "Who, Mr. Vitale?" she said, lowering her voice. "He's not so bad." Ethan raised a brow. "You're defending him?" "I'm just saying. Maybe he's not what people think." "Maybe," Ethan said, "but he could at least learn to say good morning." And then, because fate is cruel and timing even worse, Lorenzo walked out of his office at that exact second. He didn't stop right away. He didn't speak. He just looked. For the first time in 12 months, Lorenzo Vitale saw her. Really saw her. The sound of her laughter hit him like a strike to the chest. He wasn't used to that sound in this place. Light, warm, alive. It didn't belong in his world. And it sure as hell wasn't meant for another man. From where he stood, just inside his office doorway, he saw Ethan leaning on her desk, her eyes sparkling, her lips curved in a smile that didn't exist for anyone else. Something inside him tightened, sharp and unfamiliar. Marco, his right-hand man, noticed immediately. "Boss?" Lorenzo didn't answer. His gaze stayed locked on her. "Everything okay?" Marco asked carefully. "No," Lorenzo said quietly. "Who's that man?" Marco followed his eyes. "Parker. Security. Good employee. Clean record. Not for long." "Excuse me?" Get him out of my sight. A few minutes later, the sound of heavy steps echoed across the floor. Ethan turned to see Marco walking toward him, calm but deliberate. "Mr. Parker," Marco said evenly. "The boss needs you downstairs." Ethan frowned. "Me? Why?" "Because you're standing where you shouldn't." Ethan hesitated, glancing at Emily. "I'll catch you later, okay?" "Sure," she said softly, watching as Marco escorted him toward the elevator. When the doors closed, the office felt colder. Then she heard another voice. "Miss Walker." Her heart jumped. Lorenzo stood by his door, one hand in his pocket, his gaze sharp and unreadable. "Inside," he said simply. She stepped into his office, feeling like she'd just entered another world, one built on power and silence. He closed the door behind her. "Sit," he said. She obeyed, clutching her notepad even though she didn't need it. He didn't sit. He walked slowly around the desk, stopping behind her chair. "How long have you worked here?" "A year, sir." "And how many times have you been late?" "Never." "Good." He circled around until he was facing her. "Then why?" he said quietly. "Do I see you wasting company time flirting with my staff?" Her eyes widened. "Flirting? I wasn't." "You were smiling." "I'm allowed to smile." "Not like that." She blinked, confused. "Excuse me?" He leaned forward, both hands on the edge of the desk. "When I walk through this floor, I expect focus, discipline, respect. Not—" He stopped himself, jaw tightening. "Not distractions." Emily swallowed hard. "With all due respect, Mr. Vitale, Ethan was just being nice." "That's exactly what I don't want," he said through clenched teeth. Her voice trembled, part anger, part disbelief. "So I can't even talk to people now?" He took a step closer, eyes burning. "You can talk to anyone you want, outside this building. But here, you work for me, you look at me, you answer to me." Her pulse raced. "Why does it matter to you who talks to me?" "Because," he said, lowering his voice until it was almost a growl, "the second you smiled at someone else, I couldn't think straight." The silence that followed was heavy and dangerous. She stared at him, her breath shallow. "What are you saying?" He exhaled slowly, fighting himself. "I've ignored you for months, Miss Walker. I told myself it was better that way, safer, cleaner. But now—" His hand brushed her cheek, gentle but unshakable. "Now it's too late." Her heart stuttered. "Too late for what?" "For me to pretend I don't want you." He kissed her, not polite, not planned, but raw and hungry. The kind of kiss that felt like it had been building for months behind every unspoken word, every glance he refused to give her. Emily froze, then melted into it, her hands finding his shirt, her breath lost. When he pulled back, both of them were shaking. "This can't happen," she whispered. "It already did," he said softly. She stood, trying to catch her breath. "People will talk. Let them. You'll ruin your reputation." He smirked faintly. "I don't have one worth saving." He reached for her again, his fingers tracing the line of her jaw. "You have no idea what you've done to me, Emily." "Then tell me." He leaned closer, his breath hot against her ear. "You made me notice you." Her eyes met his, wide, vulnerable, defiant. "I've wanted that for so long." He stilled, surprised by the confession. "You have?" She nodded. "Every morning. Every time you walked by without looking." His expression softened for the first time in years. "Then I owe you an apology." "For what?" "For not seeing you sooner." He kissed her again, slower this time, deeper. And somewhere between fear and desire, between control and surrender, something shifted. For the first time, Lorenzo Vitale wasn't the man in charge. He was the man undone. And the woman who'd been invisible to him was now the only thing he could see. The kiss should have been a mistake. That's what Emily told herself the whole way home the night before. Bosses didn't kiss secretaries. Mafia bosses definitely didn't. Men like Lorenzo Vitale didn't risk reputation, business, power, not for a girl who spent her day answering phones and scheduling meetings. But then she remembered the way his hands framed her face. The way his voice dropped when he said, "You made me notice you." That wasn't a slip. That was a decision. And men like him didn't make small decisions. So when she woke up the next morning, she wasn't afraid. She was trembling, but not with fear. With that dizzy, dangerous hope that hits a woman when the man she always wanted finally wants her back. She dressed more carefully than usual. Not sexy, she was not stupid, but softer. A cream blouse, pencil skirt, hair up but with a few strands loose. She looked at herself and whispered, "Don't make it obvious. Don't be weird." Then she went to work. The building was busier than usual. 2 black SUVs were parked outside, which meant Lorenzo was in earlier than expected. Emily rode the elevator up with 2 women from finance who were whispering about something. And then security took him downstairs. One of them said, "Who, the cute one?" "Yeah, Parker." Emily's stomach dipped. They noticed. Of course they did. Offices were jungles. Nothing stayed invisible for long. When the doors opened on the 21st floor, she already felt every pair of eyes. People didn't stare straight at her. No, they peeked. From desks, from open doors, from behind monitors. Because yesterday, the boss had called her inside and closed the door. Because yesterday, Marco had taken Ethan away. Because yesterday, something changed. She walked to her desk. It was different. Her old computer was gone. Her chair was gone. Even her little plant was gone. She blinked. "What? Miss Walker," a voice said behind her. She turned. The floor manager, Mr. Hayes, stood there looking nervous. "Good morning. Your station has been moved." "Moved where?" Hayes swallowed. "To Mr. Vitale's office. He requested you full-time. Executive assistant position." Emily's heart hammered. "Full-time? In his office?" "Yes, effective today." She tried to stay calm. "Is there a problem with the way I was working out here?" No. Hayes glanced toward the glass-walled corner office where Lorenzo worked. "It's not a complaint. It's a preference." "A preference. Lorenzo's preference." She nodded. "Okay, I'll go in." She picked up her bag, that was all she had left now, and walked to the glass door. She could feel people watching. She could practically hear them thinking. What did she do? How did she get in there? Did she sleep with him? Only one of those was half true. She took a breath and knocked. "Come in," his voice called. His office looked different in the morning. Sunlight spilled over the dark wood, catching on the steel edges of his shelves. He sat behind the desk, suit jacket on, tie perfect, every part of him controlled. If she hadn't felt his mouth on hers the day before, she would have thought she'd imagined it. His eyes lifted the second she entered, and for a man who ruled with silence, the look he gave her said a lot. "Morning, Emily," he said. "Not Miss Walker. Emily." "Good morning," she answered, closing the door behind her. He gestured toward the chair and the small workstation set up near his side of the office. Not outside, not in the hallway, but inside to his right, where he could see her. "That's yours." She stared. "You moved me in here." "I told you yesterday," he said simply, signing a document without looking down. "You work for me now." She took a few steps toward the desk. "Lorenzo, everyone already noticed. They were supposed to." She blinked. "What?" He finally looked up. "I want them to know you're mine. That way no one tries anything stupid." A flush crept up her neck. "You can't just say that in an office." "I just did. You know what I mean." She lowered her voice. "People will talk. People always talk. The difference now is that I'll be listening." He set the pen down. "Sit down, Emily." She sat, still buzzing. "So this is real then?" "It was real the moment I tasted you," he said quietly. "Now I make it safe." She swallowed. "Safe? Or controlled?" He gave her a look. "In my world, they're the same." For the next hour, she watched him work. Calls, contracts, a tense video meeting in Italian. The way he commanded a room, even through a screen. The way men twice his age called him sir. It was like watching a storm that learned to wear a suit. Between calls, he would glance at her. Not long, not soft, just checking. Making sure she was there. Making sure no one else was. At 9:30 there was a light knock. A junior assistant stuck her head in. "Mr. Vitale? HR sent the file for—" Her eyes fell on Emily. "Oh," the girl said. "You're here." Emily smiled politely. "Yes." The girl's gaze flicked back to Lorenzo. "Should I leave it with her?" "You leave it with her," Lorenzo said. "Anything for me goes through her." The girl nodded quickly, dropped the folder, and disappeared. Emily turned to him. "You really are doing this?" "Yes." "You really promoted me?" "Yes." "You really don't care if the entire floor knows you asked for me?" He leaned back, watching her. What part of "I saw you and now I can't ignore you" was unclear. Her heart did that stupid skip again. At 10:15 the intercom buzzed. Marco's voice. "Boss, Parker's on the floor again." Emily's head snapped up. Lorenzo's jaw tensed. "Why?" "Said he needs to update the firewall on your level." "Does he?" "No." Lorenzo looked at Emily. She was already anxious. "Let him up," Lorenzo said. "I'll handle it." A minute later, Ethan appeared at the office door. He looked between Lorenzo and Emily, confusion and concern flickering over his face. "Hey," he said gently to her. "You good?" Before she could answer, Lorenzo's voice cut through the room. "Mr. Parker." Ethan straightened. "Sir, you seem to have trouble staying on your floor." Ethan licked his lips. "With respect, I was just checking on Emily." "You don't need to check on her," Lorenzo said. "That's my job." Ethan frowned, eyes moving from one to the other. "Is everything okay?" Emily wished she could make him disappear without consequences. He was kind. He'd seen her before anyone else. But he was standing in the middle of a line he didn't know existed. "It is," she said quietly. "You don't have to worry." Ethan's brows pulled together. "I kind of do, actually. This building isn't exactly—" "Parker," Lorenzo said sharply. "I'm going to make this very clear. Ms. Walker works for me. Her desk is in my office. If you need to talk to her, you go through me." Ethan stared at him. "With respect, sir, that's not how HR protocols—" "Do I look like HR?" Silence. Ethan swallowed. "No, sir." "Good. Then don't tell me how to run my floor." Ethan glanced at Emily again, and there was something in his eyes. Disappointment, maybe, or worry. "If you need anything—" "She won't," Lorenzo said. "You can go." It was a dismissal. Ethan knew it. He clenched his jaw, nodded once to Emily, and left. The second the door closed, she turned on Lorenzo. "You didn't have to talk to him like that." "Yes, I did. He was being nice. He was being interested." "So?" she challenged. "I was invisible for a year. Someone finally saw me." Lorenzo stood, slow and dangerous. "I saw you." After he did. He didn't like that, not one bit. He walked around the desk until he was right in front of her chair. "Does that matter to you?" he asked, voice low. "Who saw you first?" She looked up at him, eyes shining. "It mattered for a long time. And now?" She took a breath. "Now I just want it to be you." That changed everything. His features softened. Not much, but enough that she could see the man under the boss, the man who'd been fighting this. He reached down, tilted her chin up. "Then don't smile at him like that," he said softly. "Smile at me." She almost laughed. "We're at work." "I know. You can't kiss me here." "I know." "Then what do you want?" His eyes darkened. "I want you to remember, every second you're in this office, that you belong to me now, not as an employee, as mine." Her breath hitched. He let his thumb trace the corner of her mouth, subtle, intimate, hidden from the glass by the angle of the room. "And I want everyone out there to start figuring that out." By lunchtime, the floor already had. 2 analysts walked by, pretending not to look in. A woman from legal slowed down to check the view. Someone in the hallway whispered, "She's in there with him, alone." Emily felt the weight of every look, but every time she glanced at Lorenzo, she saw the same thing. He didn't regret it. At 1 p.m., He had a meeting on the 23rd floor. Before he left, he turned to her. You stay here. I can take notes. No. His gaze was firm. I don't want you walking around the building right now. Because of the looks? Because someone asked for your name yesterday. We still don't know who. His jaw flexed. Until I do, you don't walk alone. She swallowed. Okay. He came closer, as if he couldn't help it. You good? She nodded. He cupped the back of her head, fingers in her hair for just a second, a touch no camera would catch, but that she'd feel for hours. Text me if anyone bothers you. You'll be in a meeting. I'll still answer. Then he left. The moment he did, it started. 2 women from accounting walked in. Hi, Emily, one of them said, too sweet. We just wanted to drop off some signed forms. For Mr. Vitale. Oh, sure, you can leave them here. The other woman leaned in. So, how is it in here? Emily blinked. Excuse me? Sitting with him, being the boss's girl. I'm not. Oh, don't worry. We're not judging. The first one said, eyes glinting. Everybody knows he's intense. We just didn't think he did office girls. The words stung more than Emily expected. I got promoted, she said quietly. That's all. Right, one of them said. Promoted. They left giggling. Emily sat there, heat burning behind her eyes. This is why he wanted to keep me close, she realized. This is why Mafia men don't date normal women. Not because they don't want to, because the world doesn't let them. Her phone buzzed. Lorenzo. You okay? She stared at the screen. How does he always know? Emily. People are talking. Lorenzo. Let them. I'll shut it down. Emily. You can't shut people down for talking. Lorenzo. I can. Watch me. She smiled despite herself. When he came back at 2:30, the mood on the floor shifted again. He walked straight in. How bad? He asked. She shrugged. Nothing I can't handle. That's not what I asked. She sighed. They're just surprised, wondering why you chose me. He looked at her like the answer was obvious. Because you were the only one I wanted. Her chest tightened. Lorenzo. He sat on the edge of his desk, facing her. Listen to me. I need you to understand this part. This isn't a fling. I don't do flings with people in my building. I don't mix business with distractions. You said I was a distraction. He smiled slow. You are, and I'm keeping you anyway. She laughed, a little breathless. That's not very professional. I'm not a very professional man. Yes, you are. He tilted his head. Not with you. Her cheeks warmed. Then his expression changed. Darker, more serious. But because I chose you, some people will see you as a way to get to me. That's the part I hate. That's what that package was about? She asked quietly. Them wanting to know who I am? Yes. His voice dropped. And it means we move to the next step. What step? Protection. He opened a drawer, pulled out a sleek phone, similar to the one Marco had given her in the other version of the story. This is your line. Encrypted. You answer me on this first. She took it, fingers brushing his. You really think it's that serious? I know it is. He paused. The minute I looked at you out there, someone else did too. I can't undo that. I can only make it clear that touching you is the same as touching me. She stared at him. You'd go that far? He didn't even blink. For you? Yes. The room went quiet. He reached out, tucking a loose piece of hair behind her ear. You said yesterday you were crazy about me. He said softly. I was. She whispered. I am. Then believe me when I tell you. I am not letting you go. She swallowed. Even if it causes problems here? It already did. He smirked. Might as well enjoy it. She laughed, the tension breaking. You're impossible. I'm in love, he said before he could stop himself. Her eyes widened. You, what? He inhaled sharply, as if realizing what he'd just said, but he didn't take it back. I tried to ignore you. I tried to keep you out there behind the glass, I tried to pretend I didn't hear you laugh with him." His eyes burned into hers. "It didn't work. So now I live with it. And you stay with me." Her throat closed. No one had ever said that to her. Not like that. Not a man like him. She stood slowly, walked to him, and rested her forehead on his chest. "Okay," she whispered. "Then I stay." His arms wrapped around her instantly, like he'd been waiting his whole life to hold something that was his for real. Outside the glass, the office hummed. People pretended not to look. Rumors kept moving. But inside that room, a line had been drawn, clear and dangerous. From that day on, everyone in Vitale Holdings would know. The boss's weakness had a name, and someone out there, watching, was going to use it. By Wednesday, everyone in Vitale Holdings knew two things. One, the girl from the old front desk didn't sit there anymore. Two, and if you said her name too loud, the boss looked up. Office gossip spread faster than financial reports. People pretended they weren't curious, but eyes lingered every time Emily crossed the hallway to the copy room or brought coffee back to Lorenzo's office. Some women rolled their eyes. Some men stared too long. A few people whispered that it wouldn't last. They were wrong. Because Lorenzo wasn't acting like a man having a thing with an employee. He was acting like a man who had already decided. And that made her valuable, not just to him, but to anyone watching him. That morning, he made her sit closer than usual. His office was large enough that she could have been at her own little station near the window, but he pointed to the visitor's chair on the side of his desk. "Here," he said. She laughed softly. "You want me right next to you now?" He didn't look up from the contract he was signing. "I always did. You're really bad at hiding it." "I stopped trying." He finally glanced at her. "Sit." She sat. Close enough that her knee brushed his thigh under the desk. Close enough to smell his cologne. Close enough that, if she leaned just a little, she'd be in his lap. He noticed. His hand slipped under the desk, found her knee, and rested there deliberately. Not by accident. Not as a casual touch. As a promise. She inhaled sharply. "Lorenzo, we're at work." He kept reading. "I'm working. You're touching me." He squeezed lightly. "I'm allowed to touch what's mine." Her cheeks burned. "Someone could walk in." "They won't," he said. "Marco's outside." "So you planned this?" "I plan everything." He didn't move his hand. It stayed on her leg, warm, possessive, dragging fire up her skin. Not high, not indecent, just enough to remind her that the boss who used to ignore her now wanted her under his hand, within reach, where no one else could look too long. "Do you like it?" he asked casually, eyes still on the paper. She swallowed. "Yes." "Good." He signed his name. "Then don't fight me on it." She wanted to tease him, to tell him he was overbearing, but the truth was, she'd dreamed of this. Not just the big moments, not just kisses in private. She'd dreamed of this exact thing. Him working, her beside him, his hand on her leg like it belonged there, like she belonged there. That was the problem. She liked belonging to him. At 10:07, the intercom buzzed. "Boss," Marco said, voice tighter than usual. "We've got a delivery for her again." Lorenzo's hand froze. Emily stiffened. "For me?" "Yes, sir," Marco continued. "No sender. Different courier." Lorenzo removed his hand from her leg and stood, the shift in him immediate, from lover to leader in one breath. "Bring it to the private conference room. No one else touches it." "Yes, sir." He turned to her. "Stay here. I want to see." "No." His eyes were ice now. "You stay where I can lock the door." Her stomach dropped. "Lorenzo, what is it?" "It's someone testing me," he said. "And I'm done letting them." He walked out, closing the office door behind him. Through the glass, Emily could see the tension ripple through the floor. Security moving, Marco walking fast. A few employees pretending not to be terrified. She stood up, staring through the blinds. She could see the conference room across the hall. Marco opened a plain white box with gloved hands. Lorenzo stood beside him, expression cold. He looked at whatever was inside, his jaw clenched. Then he looked straight at her. She knew in that instant it was about her. He was back in seconds. This time he locked the door. Her voice shook. What was it? He didn't answer right away. He walked to her, took her face in both hands, and searched her eyes like he was checking if she was hurt. I'm fine, she whispered. Just tell me. He exhaled slowly, then said it. Someone sent a picture of you. She blinked. Of me? Outside the building, last night. His voice dropped. You were wearing the blue coat. Her breath left her. I was. They're watching you. She felt ice in her veins. Because of you. Because of us, he corrected. Because they saw me move you into my office. Because they saw me send a car for you. Because they realized I finally have something I care about. She stared at him. What did the message say? His eyes darkened. Doesn't matter. It does. It said, pretty girl for a man like you. She swallowed hard. It's not a threat yet, he said. It's a poke. They're trying to see how I react. How do you react? She asked quietly. He cupped her cheeks, thumbs stroking her skin, softer now, the boss melting into the man. I react by not giving them room to breathe. Lorenzo. And I react by doing this. He kissed her, not gentle this time, not slow, a hot, claiming kiss that said she is with me, even if no one else could see them right now. His hand slid to the back of her neck, his body closing her in against the desk. She rose on her toes, fingers clutching his shirt, letting him pour that anger, that fear, that possessiveness into her mouth. When he pulled back, both of them were panting. This is why they're watching, he muttered against her lips. Because they've never seen me lose control over anyone. She tried to calm her breathing. You're not losing control. He gave a low, humorless laugh. I kissed you in my office, Emily. You locked the door. I never locked the door. She blinked. Never. Never. That hit her like a love declaration. He brushed his nose against hers. They can watch all they want. He whispered. They won't touch you. How can you be so sure? Because I'm going to make it known that touching you is declaring war on me. That sounds dangerous. It is. He kissed her again, slower now. You still in? She nodded without hesitation. I was in the moment you said my name. The rest of the day, her security doubled. Marco reassigned 2 men to the 21st floor for system maintenance. Another man she'd never seen before stayed near the elevator. When she went to the bathroom, one of them discreetly followed the corridor and stood by the door. It was weird. It was suffocating. It was thrilling, because she understood. He was moving pieces for her. At lunch, she didn't go to the cafeteria. Lorenzo had food brought in. Eat here, he said. In your office? Yes. She raised a brow. You don't usually eat. I do now. They sat across from each other at the small round table by the window. Him with rolled sleeves, her with a plastic fork in her hand. Both of them pretending it was normal to have a half-mafia, half-corporate relationship in a glass box above Manhattan. Do you miss being out there? He asked suddenly, nodding toward the hall. With the other employees? Yeah. She thought about it. I miss not being stared at. That will pass. Will it? He gave a small, crooked smile. No. She laughed, shaking her head. At least you're honest. I told you. I don't hide what I want. Her eyes softened. What do you want right now? You, he said without a second of doubt. Closer. Lorenzo, we have blinds. She blushed. You can't. I can. We're working. I'm the boss. God, he was impossible. But she stood and went to him anyway. He pulled her into his lap like it was the most natural thing in the world. Her skirt rode up a little, his arm circling her waist, his other hand cupping the back of her neck. He looked up at her like she was the sweetest problem he'd ever had. You fit here, he murmured. In your office? In my life. The words melted something in her. She kissed him first this time, soft, slow, grateful. He responded immediately, mouth opening under hers, one hand sliding up her back, pressuring her closer. The kiss deepened, turned warmer, turned into those little breaths that said, "I've wanted this for too long." His thumb stroked the side of her throat. "Emily, don't ever make me watch you smile at another man again." She smiled against his mouth. "Then don't ignore me again." He exhaled sharply. "Deal." At 4 p.m. the day shifted. Marco stepped in without knocking, which meant it was serious. "Boss, we traced the courier." Lorenzo's expression hardened. "And?" "He was paid cash. No cameras on the payer. But the IP from yesterday's inquiry matches an old contact." Marco glanced at Emily, then back at Lorenzo. "From the Rossi crew." Lorenzo's eyes went cold. "I thought they were done." "Apparently not." Emily looked between them. "Who are they?" "People who once tried to pressure me using someone close," Lorenzo said, voice flat. "Didn't end well for them. And now they're trying again," Marco added. "Because now you've got someone close again." The room went very still. Emily felt it. The shift from spicy office romance to real danger. This wasn't just jealousy. This was exactly what he'd been warning her about. The second he really saw her, so would his enemies. Lorenzo stood. "Okay, then we do it my way." He turned to her. "Pack a bag." She blinked. "What? You're not going back to your apartment?" "For how long?" "Until I say it's safe." She stared at him. "Lorenzo, I can't just move into your place because someone sent a picture." "Yes, you can." His voice had that final tone again. "Because I said so, and because you don't understand what them sending a picture means." "Then explain it to me." He stepped closer, eyes locked on hers. "It means they know you exist. It means they know you're near me. It means they're going to try again, and I'm not giving them a second shot." She swallowed. "Will I be safe with you?" He didn't even blink. "You're safest with me." Then softer. "And I want you there." That broke the last of her protests. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll go." He exhaled, some of the tension leaving his shoulders. "Good girl." The word sent a shiver down her spine. Marco cleared his throat. "I'll take her tonight." "No," Lorenzo said. "I will." "Boss, I said I will." Marco nodded. "Understood." That night, the city was wet with a light rain. The black SUV pulled up to the private entrance of Lorenzo's building. He stepped out first, scanning, then took her hand and led her inside. It was the first time she'd walked into his world without sneaking, without being rushed, without being terrified. This time, she was being brought. His penthouse was all glass and shadow, warm light against dark wood, masculine but not cold. She turned in a slow circle. "You live like this," she whispered. "I live alone," he corrected. "Not anymore." He looked at her long enough for the words to sink in. He walked to her, lifted her chin, and kissed her, not like a boss stealing a moment, but like a man finally home. His hand slid around her waist, pulling her deep against him. She opened for him willingly, fingers curling into his hair, kissing him back with all the years she'd wanted him in secret. He backed her toward the window, city lights framing them. "You know what today proved?" he murmured between kisses. "What?" "That I was right to ignore you." She pulled back, offended. "Excuse me," he smirked, "because the second I didn't, the whole city found out I have a weak spot." She softened. "But you don't regret it?" His eyes burned into hers. "Not for a second." He kissed her again, slower now, tracing her lower lip with his tongue, hands big and warm on her back. It was more than desire. It was a man trying to erase fear from her body with his mouth. When he finally let her breathe, he rested his forehead on hers. "Listen to me," he said quietly. "You were invisible because I wanted you safe. Now you're mine, and it made you a target. That's on me. Lorenzo, I will fix what I broke," he said. "I will make them stop. But until I do, you don't walk alone. You don't go home. You don't answer numbers you don't know. You tell me everything." She nodded. "Okay." He kissed her temple. "Good." Then he said the thing that would hook any listener to the next chapter. "Because if they come for you again, I won't negotiate. I'll start a war." And Emily, standing barefoot in the penthouse of the most dangerous man she'd ever met, realized she wasn't invisible anymore. She was claimed, and the whole city was about to find out what that cost. Emily woke up to the sound of rain against glass and the faint murmur of a man talking somewhere down the hall. For a second, she forgot where she was. The bed was too big, the sheets too soft. The air smelled like cedar and smoke, Lorenzo's scent, clean but dangerous, like him. Then she heard his voice again, low, in Italian. She sat up slowly, the shirt she'd borrowed from him slipping down one shoulder. Her heart gave that nervous flutter that came every time she remembered the truth. She wasn't in her apartment. She was in his world now. She slid out of bed, padded barefoot toward the sound. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath it. "No mistakes this time. If they touch her, I don't call. I don't warn. I burn everything they own." Emily froze in the hallway. He was on the phone, one hand braced against the kitchen counter, sleeves rolled, tie loosened. There were files spread across the table. Photos, maps, things that didn't belong in any normal office. He looked like sin and control wrapped into one body. Marco's voice came faintly through the line. "You're making this personal, boss." "It is personal." A pause. "Then we tighten security. I'll handle the cleanup." "Handle it fast," Lorenzo said. "They already sent 2 messages. I don't give them room for a third." He hung up and turned. She hadn't meant to be seen, but he noticed her instantly. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked softly. "I heard you," she said, walking closer. "You were angry." "I'm always angry," he said, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "No," she said gently. "Not like that." He studied her, still trying to stay the man she thought he was, the calm one, the untouchable one. But she'd already seen the storm. "You don't have to protect me from the truth," she said. "You told me this was your world, so show me." He sighed, rubbed the back of his neck. "You're too good for this world." "I didn't ask to be good," she said quietly. "I asked to be with you." Something in his chest cracked at that. He gestured to the table. "Come here, then." She walked over, looking down at the spread of files, photos of men, cars, a warehouse address, red marks like scars across a map of the city. "What is this?" she whispered. "People who think they can touch what's mine," he said. "I'm making sure they remember why they shouldn't." Her stomach tightened. "You're going after them." "I'm stopping them." "That's the same thing." He looked at her, calm, steady. "Not when you're me." She lifted her eyes to his. "And what if something happens to you?" "Nothing happens to me," he said. But the quiet fear in her voice made him soften. He reached out, brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. "You don't have to see this side of me." "I already do." He gave a humorless laugh. "You're still here." She met his gaze, firm. "Where else would I be?" That was all it took. The last thread of restraint snapped. He caught her waist, pulled her close until her palms pressed against his chest. "Every time you talk like that," he murmured, "I stop thinking about business." "Good," she whispered. He kissed her. Slow, deep, desperate. The kind of kiss that could make a war disappear. His hand slid to the back of her neck, hers tangled in his hair. He tasted like power and sleepless nights, and she gave in completely. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. "You have no idea what you do to me." "Maybe I do," she teased softly. He smiled, the first real one she'd seen all morning. Dangerous woman. Learned from the best. The day didn't slow down. Lorenzo spent hours in meetings, some on the phone, some in person, all with men who didn't belong in skyscrapers. Emily sat nearby, typing notes she didn't fully understand. She heard words like shipment, deal, territory, and sometimes cleanup. Each time those came up, the room grew colder. At one point, Marco leaned over to whisper something to Lorenzo in Italian. Emily only caught a few words: la ragazza, the girl, and problema. Lorenzo's jaw tightened. No, he said aloud. She's not a problem. She's the point. Marco gave her a quick apologetic nod, then left the room. Lorenzo saw her watching. You understand Italian, he said, not asking. Enough to know when someone's talking about me. He leaned back in his chair, eyes dark. They're just worried I'm distracted. Are you? He smiled faintly. Completely. That night, dinner was quiet. Pasta, wine, rain still tapping against the glass. He watched her eat like he was memorizing the sight. When she set her fork down, he said softly, You're not used to this. Dinner without fear? She teased. Dinner with me? She smiled. You're not as terrifying as people think. He tilted his head. You're not scared of me? She hesitated, then shook her head. No. You should be, he said quietly. People who stand too close to me don't stay clean. I'm not afraid of dirty, she said. I'm afraid of losing you. He stared at her, jaw tight, like the words physically hurt him. You won't. You can't promise that. He pushed his chair back and came around the table. His hands rested on either side of her chair, caging her in. Watch me. Her heart pounded. Lorenzo, you think I'd let anything touch you? He murmured. Not in this city, not in this life, not while I'm breathing. She whispered, You can't control everything. His hand slid to her throat, not hard, just enough to make her shiver. You'd be surprised. Her breath hitched. His thumb stroked her jaw, his eyes locked on hers. Say the word and I'll tear down anyone who even says your name. Why? She whispered. Why me? Because you were the only thing I couldn't buy, he said. And now that I have you, I'm not losing you to anyone. He kissed her again, rougher this time, more desperate. Her fingers gripped his shoulders. He pulled her up against him until her feet barely touched the floor. The kiss deepened, grew wild, full of everything they'd been trying to hide. The air around them went electric, her pulse, his breath, the sound of rain outside like applause for the chaos between them. When they broke apart, she was shaking. You scare me, she whispered. He smiled against her lips. Good. Then, softer. You should scare me too. Later that night, she found him on the balcony, phone pressed to his ear, city lights reflecting in his eyes. He looked like the man the world feared again. Cold, commanding, lethal. Make it look like an accident, he said quietly. No bodies in the river this time. They'll get the message. Her stomach turned. He hung up, pocketed the phone, and noticed her standing in the doorway. How much did you hear? He asked. Enough. He nodded slowly. And you're still here. She walked to him. You didn't lie about what you are. No, he said. I only lied about how much I'd change for you. Her voice was barely a whisper. How much would you? He turned toward her, the city glowing behind him. Enough to make you safe. Never enough to make me harmless. She stepped closer, until her hands rested on his chest. Then I'll learn to live with dangerous. He caught her hand, pressed a kiss to her palm. You already are. At 11:48 p.m., the phone buzzed again. Lorenzo answered instantly, tension snapping back into his voice. Talk. Marco's voice. Boss, we've got movement. They followed the car that dropped her off 2 nights ago. Who? Unknown. Same pattern as Rossi's men. Lorenzo's jaw clenched. You have eyes on them? 2. They're parked near the building. He looked at Emily, who was watching him. Handle it. Marco hesitated. Boss, handle it. He hung up. What is it? She asked. He walked to her, touched her cheek. Just noise outside. She caught his hand. Don't lie. He looked at her for a long moment. Some people still think they can scare me. Can they? He smiled faintly. Not if I scare them first. He leaned down and kissed her again, slow, lingering, heavy with all the things he didn't say. Go to bed, he whispered. I'll be in soon. She wanted to argue, but something in his eyes stopped her. It wasn't anger. It was protection sharpened into instinct. She went. He waited until he heard the bedroom door close. Then he called Marco back. Don't just scare them, he said. Send a message. What kind? The kind they don't forget. Hours later, Emily woke to the sound of footsteps. She found Lorenzo in the living room, shirt half unbuttoned, a smear of blood on his wrist. Not his, she realized, from the way he moved. He looked exhausted, hollow, but alive. Her heart broke and healed at once. What happened? She whispered. He looked up at her, tired eyes softening. It's handled. She walked closer, touched his hand. Was it worth it? He caught her waist, pulled her in until she was between his knees, his face against her stomach. It is if it keeps you safe. She threaded her fingers through his hair, trembling. You can't fight the whole city for me. He looked up at her, eyes glassy with emotion. Watch me. He kissed her one last time before dawn, fierce, grateful, alive. The city outside was quiet, unaware that a war had just begun. And for the first time since she'd met him, Emily understood exactly who Lorenzo Vitale was. Not just a boss, not just a lover, but a man who'd tear the world apart to protect her. Rain always made the city softer. That night New York was wet and quiet, the streets gleaming under streetlights, sirens distant. From the penthouse, it almost looked peaceful, like the world had finally decided to leave them alone. Emily almost believed it. She was in the kitchen, barefoot, making tea she didn't really plan to drink. Lorenzo had told her he'd be in the office room downstairs for a quick call. Quick, in his language, could be 10 minutes or a war. She checked the time. 10:47 p.m. He'd been gone 20. She walked to the big windows looking over the city. A week ago she was taking the subway, answering phones, pretending she didn't care that he never looked at her. Now she was standing in his shirt, in his home, with his guards in the hallway because he'd said, "You're safest with me." She wanted to believe him. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Ethan. Her heart jumped. She hadn't heard from him since Lorenzo made it clear she was off limits. Just wanted to check you're okay, Em. Heard some stuff around security. If you need help, I'm still around. She stared at the message, throat tight. He didn't owe her that kindness. He just didn't like seeing good people swallowed by bad worlds. She typed back, I'm okay. Thank you. Things are complicated. 3 dots appeared. Then, yeah, he's not the kind of man people mess with. Be careful. She smiled sadly. I am. She had just set the phone down when she heard it. A sound that didn't belong. Not a door, not an elevator. A thud, heavy, muffled, in the hallway. Her body went cold. Lorenzo? She called out. No answer. She moved toward the main hall. The lights were on, but the penthouse felt wrong. Too still, like someone was holding their breath. Lorenzo? Then she heard voices. Not his. Deeper, rougher. Too many. Her heart exploded in her chest. She backed up immediately, like he'd taught her. If something feels wrong, don't freeze. Move. She grabbed the phone, ran to the side corridor that led to his bedroom, the one with the reinforced door. Before she could reach it, the front door slammed open. 3 men in dark clothes, masks, guns up. Emily gasped and bolted. There! One of them shouted. That's her! So it was about her. Again. She sprinted down the hallway, bare feet on polished floor, panic roaring in her ears. One of them fired. The shot cracked through the penthouse. Glass shuddered. A vase exploded near the wall. Don't kill her! Another barked. We need her alive! Her stomach lurched. She reached Lorenzo's bedroom, slammed the door, twisted the lock. Her hands shook as she pulled the heavy dresser toward it. She'd never done it before, but adrenaline made her strong. Footsteps thundered down the hall. Open the door, a voice shouted. Emily grabbed Lorenzo's encrypted phone. Her hands were slick with sweat. She hit his number. He answered on the first ring. Emily. Lorenzo. They're here. Where are you? His voice dropped into that lethal register. Your room. I locked it. Good. She heard movement on his end. Gunmetal. Footsteps. "Listen to me. Don't open the door. I'm coming up." "They said they want me," she whispered, voice breaking. "They're not getting you." Through the door, bang, bang, bang. They were trying to break it down. She cried out, "Lorenzo!" "I'm on my way," he said. "Keep talking to me." "I'm scared." "I know, baby." The words slipped out, raw. "Keep your head down." The banging got louder. Wood cracked. The dresser shook. Then, outside, another sound. Different. Gunfire. Not theirs. His. Shouts. A body hitting the floor. Another shot. Cursing in Italian. Then his voice, closer. "You picked the wrong house." Emily sobbed in relief. Another shot. A man screamed. She heard Marco's voice too, furious. "You're not getting past this door." Then, silence. She didn't dare breathe. The handle on the bedroom door turned. "Emily, it's me." She ran to it, yanked the dresser just enough to open. Lorenzo pushed his way in, gun still in his right hand, shirt half open, hair messed, eyes blazing. He grabbed her and pulled her to his chest. "You okay?" he demanded, scanning her face, her arms, her legs. "Did they touch you?" "No," she cried. "No, I—" A shot rang out. Lorenzo spun, shoving Emily behind him. One of the attackers, bleeding but not down, had made it to the bedroom door and fired. The bullet caught Lorenzo in the side. It wasn't a cinematic slow-motion hit. It was real, fast, ugly. He grunted, staggered, but didn't fall. Emily screamed. "Lorenzo!" The gun clattered from his hand. The attacker lifted his weapon again, but Lorenzo was still Lorenzo. Even shot, he moved like a wolf. He lunged forward, grabbed the man's arm, twisted, slammed him into the frame. The gun fell. Lorenzo drove his fist into the man's face once, twice, 3 times, until he stopped moving. The hallway filled with footsteps again, this time friendly. Marco burst in with 2 men, guns up. "Boss! It's clear," Lorenzo said through his teeth. "Secure the floor." Then, finally, he let himself drop to his knees. "Lorenzo." Emily fell with him, arms wrapping around him. Blood was already seeping through his shirt, warm and shocking against her hands. "Oh my God, you're bleeding." "It's fine," he hissed. "It's a graze." It was not a graze. Marco knelt, ripped the shirt. "That's not a graze." "I said it's fine." "It's not fine." Emily's eyes filled. "Don't fight him. Let him help." Lorenzo looked at her, and his whole face changed. The anger, the violence, it all melted. All that was left was a man who'd just taken a bullet in front of the woman he loved. He cupped her cheek with his clean hand. "You okay?" "I'm fine." "Say it." "I'm fine," she whispered, crying. He exhaled, relieved. "Then I can breathe." Marco pressed a cloth to the wound. Lorenzo grunted but didn't push him away. "Rossi's men?" Lorenzo asked. "Yes," Marco said. 3 inside, 1 downstairs. We got them. Any alive? 1. Good, Lorenzo said, eyes dark. I want him. Emily shook her head. Lorenzo, please, no more tonight. He looked at her. They came into my home, Emily. They aimed a gun at you. I can't let that go. If I let it go, they come back. She sobbed. Why won't they stop? Because now they know I love you, he said simply. The words stunned her. Marco looked up, startled. He'd never heard him say it like that. But Lorenzo didn't take it back. He held her face in his bloody hand. You asked me why it got worse. That's why. Because they saw I had something to lose. You don't have to say this now. Yes, I do, he said, voice rough. Because I got shot in front of you, and you're shaking, and you need to hear it. He swallowed, pain flashing in his eyes. I love you, Emily. I tried to ignore you. I tried to keep you outside that glass wall, but I couldn't. And the second I pulled you close, they saw. That's on me. She cried harder. I don't care. You should. I don't, she said fiercely. I want you. Not the safe version, not the clean version. You. He closed his eyes like her words hurt more than the bullet. Then listen to me, he said. From now on, you don't question me when I say stay home. You don't argue when I say take 2 guards. You don't walk without telling me. You don't open doors. You don't talk to strangers. You don't try to be brave. He grabbed her wrist, holding on like a drowning man. You let me be the one who's not safe. You stay safe. That's the deal. She nodded through tears. Okay. Say it. I'll stay safe. Good girl. Marco glanced at him. We need to stitch it. Doc's on the way up. I don't need. You do. Emily said, voice firm now. You bled on my shirt. That somehow made him laugh, a pained, broken sound. You're bossy. I live with a mafia boss, she said. I learned. He looked at her like she'd just handed him the whole world. 15 minutes later, the private doctor arrived. One of those men who didn't ask how the injury happened. He stitched Lorenzo right there on the sofa, under Emily's watch. Lorenzo didn't make a sound, didn't flinch, eyes on her the whole time like she was the only anesthetic he needed. When it was done and the doctor left, the penthouse was quieter, but not peaceful. The air still held the echo of the attack. Emily sat beside him, legs tucked under her, fingers brushing his hair back. Does it hurt? Yes. Good, she whispered. So you remember tonight? He smiled weakly. You mad at me? I'm mad they got this close. That's on me. She looked at him. You keep saying that. Because it's true. A boss is only as strong as his control. I lost control when I kissed you in that office. I showed them where to hit. She shook her head. You got shot because you protected me. That's not losing control. That's love. His eyes softened. Really softened. Like all the weight in his body settled. You're not scared of me? He asked again, quieter. No. You're not scared of this? She glanced around. Guards searching, broken door, blood on the floor. Then back at him. I'm scared of losing you, she said. Not of being yours. He reached for her, pulled her gently onto him, careful of his side. She lay against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Strong, steady, alive. He whispered against her hair. I won't let them touch you. Even if I have to start a war. You already did, she murmured. He smiled against her. Then I'll finish it. She closed her eyes, finally able to breathe. But the listeners, the viewers of your channel, won't relax yet, because we leave one thread loose. Marco came back from the hall, face grim. Boss, he said. We searched the one who's still breathing. Lorenzo opened his eyes. And? He had a note. Marco held out a plastic sleeve. Lorenzo nodded for him to read. Marco did. It says, if we can reach her, others can too. Choose faster. Emily felt Lorenzo's body go rigid. What does that mean? She whispered. Lorenzo looked at her, eyes darkening again. The man, the boss, the lover all colliding. It means, he said, that keeping you here isn't enough anymore. Her breath hitched. What are you saying? I'm saying, he murmured, thumb stroking her cheek, that tomorrow I make it official. Official? How? He held her gaze. So everyone, friends, enemies, this city, knows you're Lorenzo Vitale's woman. And if they still come? He smiled, dangerous and in love. Then they'll learn what it costs. Morning came too bright for a night that bloody. Emily woke first. For a moment she just lay there watching him. Lorenzo was half on his back, one arm around her, the bandage on his side peeking from under the sheet. Even hurt, he looked solid, unshakable, the kind of man who didn't know how to stay down. She traced his jaw with her eyes. She'd spent months stealing glances at him from a distance, memorizing him without permission. Now he was in her arms, in her bed, in her life. He opened his eyes slowly, like he'd felt her watching. Hey, he said, voice rough with sleep. Hey, she whispered back. You okay? She smiled. You got shot. I should be asking you that. I've had worse. That's not comforting. He smirked, then winced slightly when he moved. She leaned in quick. Don't, she said. Let it heal. He watched her fuss over him, and something tender crossed his face. You really staying? he asked quietly. She blinked. What? Last night didn't scare you off. It scared me, she said. It didn't push me away. He exhaled, relieved. Good, because I meant what I said. Which part? You said a lot of things while bleeding. He smiled. The part about loving you. Heat rose in her cheeks. Say it again. He reached up, cupped her face, eyes steady on hers. I love you, Emily Walker. I tried not to. I failed. She swallowed. I love you too, Lorenzo Vitale. I never tried not to. That made him actually laugh, low, real, warm. He pulled her down, kissed her forehead, her nose, her mouth. Slow morning kisses, softer than the desperate ones from the night before, not claiming, keeping. When he pulled back, he was all business again, but lighter this time. We finish it today. She frowned. Finish what? This thing hanging over your head. Over us. He shifted up on the pillows. They hit my house. They went after what I love. I can't leave it open. Do you really have to go after them? Yes. Does it have to be violent? He thought about it. No. She was surprised. No? No, he repeated. Not if they understand I'm done playing. Sometimes you don't need to shoot. You just need to show who you're willing to burn for. And that's me. That's you. She bit her lip. What are you going to do? He looked at her like he was about to tell her a secret no one in his world ever got. I'm going to make it official. She sat up a little. Official how? In my world, there are two ways to protect someone, he said. One is to hide them. I tried that. It didn't work. His eyes burned into hers. The other is to tell everyone she's mine, publicly. So even my enemies know. If they touch you, they sign their own death. Her heart pounded. Publicly? With your people? With everyone, he said. My people, my allies, the companies, the ones who handle the other side. I'm going to tell all of them that you are under my name. Her breath caught. Isn't that dangerous? It's the safest thing I can do now, he said. Because they already know you exist. The secret part is gone. So I don't waste time pretending. I crown you instead. She almost laughed at the word. Crown? He smirked. You want me to use another word? No, she said, cheeks warm. I like that one. He reached out, fingers grazing her chin. You okay being the Mafia boss's woman? I've been that since the day you got jealous, she said. You were just slow to announce it. That made him grin. Then get dressed, he said. It's going to be a long day. The announcement didn't happen in a ballroom. It didn't need chandeliers. It happened in a private floor of one of his buildings, blinds closed, security tightened, with a long table and too many men who'd kill for him, or against him, depending on who paid more. Emily had never been in a room like that. These weren't office people. These were men who ran docks, unions, routes, clubs, fronts. Some wore suits. Some wore leather. All went silent when Lorenzo walked in, and all looked at her. Her heart stuttered. She wore a simple black dress, nothing flashy, hair down. Lorenzo had insisted on staying close, his hand at the small of her back, guiding her like she was the most precious thing in the room. Marco was already there, posted to the side, eyes scanning. One of the older men, gray hair, gold ring, lifted his brow. You brought company. Lorenzo didn't sit yet. He stood at the head of the table, keeping her just half a step behind him. I did, he said. This won't take long. Another man smirked. We heard you got busy last night. Lorenzo's eyes flashed. You heard wrong. I got attacked last night. The room shifted. And when someone attacks me, he went on, voice like gravel over glass, I ask myself why. This time, the why was clear. He reached back, took Emily's hand, and pulled her forward. They saw me look at her. The men looked at one another. One of them let out a low whistle. So it's true. Yes, Lorenzo said. It's true. She yours? Someone asked, testing. Lorenzo didn't blink. Yes. She know who you are? She knows enough. You know that paints a target, another man said. Not mocking, warning. Love is leverage. Lorenzo's jaw hardened. Not if you make it a line in the sand. Silence. Then he said it plainly, like he was stating business. Her name is Emily Walker. She belongs to me. Anyone who touches her, talks about her, tries to use her, threatens her, or breathes near her with bad intentions, is saying they want war with me. He let that hang. Which means, he added, voice quieter, deadlier, they want war with all of you. That was clever. Even Emily saw it. He tied her safety to the whole network. Touching Emily wouldn't just piss off Lorenzo. It would disrupt business. Marco stepped forward. We've already handled the Rossi men who came up. He placed a folder on the table. This is what happens when you send people after the boss's woman. A few of the men opened it. Their faces changed. Some nodded. One even chuckled darkly. Okay, Vitale. Message received. Another man raised his glass. To the girl who finally made him human. Lorenzo almost smiled. Careful, I can go back. They laughed. But to Emily it wasn't funny. It was moving. This man, this feared, talked about, rumored man, had just told every dangerous person he worked with. She's mine, and if you want to keep doing business, you'll help protect her too. That was love in his world. He turned to her when the meeting ended. You okay? She nodded, eyes shining. You just told a room full of criminals you love me. He shrugged like it was nothing. They needed to know. Her voice was soft. I needed to hear. He leaned down in front of all of them and kissed her. Not long, but real. A statement. Now nobody could say it was rumor. Now nobody could pretend she was just a fling. After that, things calmed fast. Word traveled. Not just through the streets, but through the quiet channels that mattered. Vitale's woman was not a question anymore. It was fact. And because it was fact, no one tried again. The Rossi leftovers sent word too, through a middleman. No more moves. Smart of them. Lorenzo didn't answer the message. He just stopped watching the windows at night. He still kept 2 men on her when she went back to the company building. Yes, he let her go back, because she wanted to work. I don't want to be the boss's decoration, Lorenzo. Let me do my job. Fine, do it from my office. I knew you'd say that. Shut up and get in the car. People still whispered, but it was different now. Not gossip, respect, fear, curiosity. Some women rolled their eyes, but no one was cruel to her. Not after HR quietly reorganized 2 of the gossipy ones to another building. Ethan texted her once more. Guess I lost the competition I didn't know I was in. Stay safe, Em. He clearly would burn the city for you. She answered, thank you for seeing me first. And that closed that loop. Clean, Benito, Sem drama. One night, about a week later, they sat on the couch in the penthouse. City lights flickering below. No guns. No shouting. Just music low in the background. Emily's legs were draped over his. He was in a black t-shirt, rare, and sweatpants, even rarer. He looked younger like that, softer, more like Lorenzo, less like Vitale. She turned her head and watched him. What? He said without looking away from the TV. Nothing. You're staring. I'm memorizing. He finally looked at her. Why? Because I still can't believe it, she said. You were the man who never looked at me. And now? And now? Now you look like I'm the only thing in the room. He didn't deny it. He picked up her hand, kissed the inside of her wrist. You're the only thing in my world. She swallowed. Lorenzo. We don't have to keep pretending I don't want your name. He turned fully at that. You want my name? I wanted it the minute you told that room I was yours. His eyes softened and lit up at the same time. You sure? It's a heavy name. I know, she said. But I carry your danger. I carry your guards. I carry your rules. I can carry your name. He let out a slow breath, like she'd just handed him something he didn't know he needed. Say it. Emily Vitale, she whispered. He closed his eyes for a second. When he opened them, they were glassy. Say it again. Emily Vitale. He leaned in, kissed her slow, long, deep, the kind of kiss that says we made it through the fire. His hand slid along her cheek, to her hair, to the back of her neck, holding her exactly where he wanted her. When he pulled back, he rested his forehead on hers. You know this isn't a fairy tale, he murmured. The danger never goes to zero. I know. You know I'll always be watching doors, watching cars, making you text me. I know. You okay with that? She smiled. I'm okay with you. He smiled back, proud, in love, relieved. Then we're done here. We are? Yeah. He kissed her again. No more running, no more hiding, no more pretending you're invisible. I saw you. I love you. Everybody knows. Let them talk. And if someone tries again? He smiled, dangerous, but peaceful this time, a man who knew he'd already won. Then they learn, he said, that the worst thing you can do in this city is touch what belongs to Lorenzo Vitale. She laughed softly. You always have to sound scary at the end. I am scary. You're soft. I got shot for you. And I held you while you bled. His eyes warmed. Yeah, you did. He pulled her closer, tucking her against his chest. She fit perfectly, like the place had been made for her all along. Outside, the city moved, but in there, it was quiet. She whispered, half asleep. Do you remember what you said that first day? He frowned. Which part? That I made you lose focus. He chuckled. Trouble. You still losing focus? He kissed her hair. Every day. And just like that, the girl who was invisible became the woman everyone saw, because the most dangerous man in the room chose to see her first, love her loud, and stand in front of her when bullets came. That was the price of love in his world, and she paid it gladly. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.